Hey guys, what's up? Another video. And today I want to talk about trust because I think it's a very important topic in especially interpersonal relationships and relationships in any form. Because trust is the basis where you can build a strong relationship on. It's really the fundamentals of relationship building, trust. Because you can only go so far with transactional relationships in the sense that, okay, and even those are in a sense based on trust because you trust the other person to complete the transaction. When you give something and you expect to receive something, there is this need for trust in the other party to complete the transaction, right? But the reason why I want to talk about this topic today is I posted a small post in one of the Facebook groups that I'm part of. It's like a spiritual, emotional healing kind of Facebook group, or where people can share their problems, and sometimes I reply on posts there because I want to help people with the things they're struggling with. And I decided to make a post that when was the last time somebody asked you, how can I help you? And I would like to be that person for you. So I posted this post, and there were a lot of people commenting on it. And there was this one guy, and he posted on it, and he shared a little bit of his current situation, and he was very much in trouble with the pandemic and things like that. And then he decided to reach out to me in direct messages on Messenger, and he elaborated a little bit on his situation. And I was like, okay, this is a very difficult situation because this person is reaching out to me. He seems to be very, very desperate. He seems to really need my help because he probably has asked a lot of people to help him and nobody was willing to trust him, right? Because on the internet there's so many scammers around, people trying to take your money left and right. So a complete stranger you met in a Facebook group that asking you for help, which is only like monetary. He didn't like directly ask me for monetary support, but I asked him like, okay, what are ways that I can help you? And right now there is not really anything I can do other than sending him some money. And so it really brought up this topic of this concept of trust. Like where do I draw the line between trusting the fact that he's really suffering? Because imagine you're in the slums somewhere and you lost your job because of the pandemic situation, and there's probably a lot of people like that right now, right? So he has to take care of his mom and his child, his only child, and they're suffering to find food and stuff like that. Well, if it's really true, then it's horrible. And then of course I want to give some money and borrow him the money, and he will pay it back later when he can afford it, right? When he gets his life back on the rails. Um, but if he is just a scammer who is using this situation to create some kind of like scenario where he gets the sympathetic reaction of the people around him, where they're like, wow, I'm so sorry to hear that you're in such a bad situation, here, let me help. But if he abuses that trust, basically, because if you show you're in need, well, if it's honest and if it's true, then it's a beautiful thing to ask people for help, to allow them to help you, and then you can pay it back with gratitude. You can pay it back in so many other ways, right? So helping people for the sake of helping is a beautiful thing. And I posted this post in the group, and how can I help? Well, somebody reached out and almost tests my willingness to help in a way. So of course I want to help this person if the situation is true, if I can trust him to be in the situation he tells me he's in, right? And so where do you draw this line? Where does it become like overly suspicious because I want to know a little bit about the situation? Of course, I'm not just gonna send him money straight away, right? I want to have a little bit of a research going on if he's like really truthfully honest about his situation or not, right? And this trusting the fact that, okay, he is honest, I can trust him, it's the foundation, right? For me, I have to trust him in order to be willing to send him money, because if I don't trust him, then I don't know. he might steal my money, then I just gave it away for nothing, right? And in that, there might also be a valuable lesson that I know that, okay, I will never ever send money to a stranger on the internet. But in some cases, you can change a person's life. You can really, really change a person's life if you do that, right? And of course, there's many people suffering from this situation, and you can't send all your money away because you also need to take care of yourself, right? But sometimes it can be a nice thing to do to help somebody out who is really in need, but then they have to be honest about their need, and they don't have to be scammers. So right, so I was struggling with this in myself, like, okay, should I do this, should I not do this? If he's a scammer, okay, then it's a lesson I learned. It's a it's some money that I lose. Okay, it's not that big of a deal, because you can always make more money, right? The lessons that you learn, you cannot make them. I mean, the value of the lessons is also very high, right? So this sense of trust, and basically what it means. There is an interesting video from Teal Swan again that talks about this trust. What does it really mean? It's knowing that the other party is capitalizing on your best interest, and so this applies perfectly to this situation, right? Because my best interest is his best interest. So if he can get his life back on the rails, if he can buy food for his family, if he can, like, get back into like some kind of like stable situation, and then he can look for a job, he can apply for a job, he can like add value to the world again, but right now he's in such a stressful situation. He doesn't know what to do, he doesn't have money, so he is like in this fight or flight response. He's very stressed out. He cannot really focus on anything productive. He cannot really provide value to the world. Maybe here and there, but it's a very difficult situation. But my best interest is that is his best interest. But if it's like a scam, then he's just taking away from me, and so I cannot know that he has my best interests he is not capitalizing on my best interest, because taking away my money, well, you could argue that, okay, it's a lesson that he had to learn, so it's actually in his best interest that I took his money. But that's kind of like almost a manipulative approach, right? If he's really honest, then capitalizing on my best interest would be to get his life back on the rails, because that's ultimately what I want to have him do by supporting him financially temporarily, right? And so this concept of trust is really the basis of any relationship. And so I want to give, right? But at some point you also need to know that your giving is going to be received in an atmosphere of capitalizing on your best interests. Because if you're continuously giving, then you become a very easy target for abuse. And that is something that is very dangerous. And a lot of empaths and sensitive people, they fall into that trap where there's, the energy vampires and the light workers. This like terms that people use on the internet and in certain communities and stuff. You have the people who take, and they don't capitalize on the giver's best interest because they're too selfish about it, right? So you have to be careful with giving too much, because there's people out there who are so immersed in their own worlds, who don't really consider the other person's perspective, or even they do, and they're actually like they're malintended about it, right? They actually want to hurt the other person, but that's, I think, always because they have been hurt themselves in many other different situations. And again, that doesn't justify their behavior at all. I don't think it's right. I can accept that it's happening because it is happening, so it's stupid to resist the reality of it, but I don't endorse it. I don't think it's the right thing to do. I don't think it's just. I condemn it. It's not right behavior. However, I can understand in certain circumstances people can act like that. So it's very important to allow yourself to trust, but you have to guard yourself also sometimes, especially if you're like an empath person who always wants to help others. You have to know where to draw the boundary. It's okay to sometimes say no to somebody who's asking you for help, right? When you don't have the space, when your gut feeling doesn't your intuition tells you, I can't trust this person. Listen to that intuition. And right now my intuition with this person it feels like he really needs my support. So I feel like I'm doing the right thing, and if not, then I will have a lesson in, being less naive, probably, right? So what I want to say is that this trust is really, really important to be able to give freely, and know that it will be received with your best interest in mind. People will capitalize on your best interest, so you can feel safe in your giving, right? Because if you don't trust the other person to capitalize on your best interest, then how can you feel safe to give yourself, to show yourself, to be vulnerable, to help them, right? In certain situations, it doesn't really matter, like if they need like 5 minutes of help with, I don't know, pumping some bike tires or whatever. But if it's really like taking a lot of your time and effort, then of course somehow you want to be respected for that. You want to be seen, and it's okay. Like sometimes I want to have this attitude of you give just to give, and there should be no reciprocation, or there should be no like appreciation for that. And it's a really like a high goal to have somehow, but it's also, you have to sometimes accept that you're rooted in reality, and you have your own ego, and you have things that you also care about. And so it's absolutely fine to almost expect at least mutual respect, or at least like to be acknowledged. That's the word I was looking for. Acknowledged for the things you do for others, right? So trusting in any relationship is the foundation where everything can be built upon. And trusting that the other person has your best interests in mind, you have to allow yourself to do that, but they also like should show it somehow, like with their actions. They should show you that, okay, like even if you do something for someone and they react in a certain way that hurts you, this situation can happen. Like for example, I don't know, I show my vulnerable side to someone that I care about, that I love, and they act with disrespect, or they react, they ignore it, or they judge it, or whatever, and it hurts me. Okay, in that case, my trust could be lessened, it could be hurt, my trust could be worn out because of their reaction, right? And then it takes a lot of time to rebuild that trust. However, if they are aware enough that they let me know that, hey, I know you gave this you did this for me or to me, and I reacted like this, and it was because I was in a very stressful situation. I was not really able to deal with that right then, and there were certain things that were triggered, and I have this protection mechanisms and all this stuff. When they share that with you, then immediately you can understand their perspective, and the trust doesn't have to be destroyed, because you understand that, okay, they are aware enough to understand that, okay, their behavior was not the right in that moment, but it was the only thing they could do in that moment, and that rebuilds the trust. So you can build and destroy trust, and usually destroying trust is very fast, and building trust takes a lot of time. So you want to put a lot of time and effort into building trust. And how do you do that? Well, it's by showing up, it's by being consistent, it's by doing the things you say you are going to do. And if you don't do them, at least try to share what exactly happened when you didn't do it, right? And you don't always have to justify why something didn't happen. I don't believe that's the right attitude. You should not build a relationship where people are accepting justification for behavior that is absolutely acceptable to engage in from time to time. Like if it's a continuous thing and you say that I will show up on time and you never do that, well, then there's a problem. But if you show up on time 9 out of 10, and then the 10th time you don't necessarily have to justify endlessly if you didn't show up on time, right? You can just say, hey, this happened and now I'm a little bit late, sorry about that. And then you can forgive, and you can learn to understand that, okay, this this life, you know, people are not perfect, and they should not be, because the imperfection is exactly what makes everything so much more exciting, right? So the trust is something that you want to spend enough time on cultivating and communicating, and it really understand that this is the basis for a properly working relationship. It's the basis of every social interaction almost, you know, like money. What is it based on? It's trust. It's having faith that I give you this and you give me money in return, which has a certain value. People have to believe in the monetary system. That is what the whole economy is based on. Yeah? I trust you to give me back what I give you, right? So on a business level, this is even more. It's more. How do I say, like, it's more clear in a business setting. You know, I expect you to be trustworthy. I expect you to pay back what I give you, or I buy something, I give you the money. I expect you to give me the equal value in exchange, right? But in interpersonal relationships, it's much more subtle. It's much more fluent and much more emotionally relevant, right? Because if you don't feel safe in a relationship, it will destroy it for sure. Like Teal Swan talks about it actually. 100% of the relationship where there is no trust fails. 100%. Think about that. So it's very important you spend a lot of time establishing a basis of trust and continuously nurturing that. And you do that by showing up, by doing the things you say you do, and by apologizing, or at least explaining a little bit why it didn't happen, when it didn't happen, when you said you were gonna do it, right? And you can demand that from other people. You can have high standards for yourself, maintain high standards for yourself personally, but also maintain them for other people. You know, you can't let people walk all over you all the time and not allow them to treat you with disrespect, or say things and then never do them, or never show up. No, you have to be strict with that. Set boundaries. Tell them that, okay, hey, you told me to do this, you didn't do that. What's the reason? You owe me an explanation, because you told me you were going to do this, right? And of course, it's a matter of mutual respect, and it's a matter of, okay, how do I communicate the need for trust? How do I not start to be punishing about it, or moralizing, or, you know, try to avoid these things. Try to, of course, understand the other person's perspective, but keep it high standards for yourself, strict boundaries. So why am I talking about this? Because I felt a little bit strange about, okay, I would like to know more about this person that is asking me for money. Can you show me a picture? Can we do some video call? Can you show me some proof of your current situation? And I was like, okay, where is the boundary between it becoming too suspicious? Because at some point you can also be like, man, come on, like, at some point you have to trust. You know, at some point you will have to trust. You will have to take the risk, because trusting is ultimately also inherently involved with taking risks. Because yes, of course, there's always a possibility that people will betray your trust. It's always there. Because think about it, you are not as, like, how would I say, you are not as, how the word, innocent. You are not as innocent as you claim to be. I am sure there is times where you deliberately betrayed someone or something, and it's exactly these things that can be very nagging in the back of your head, right? And that's also why so many people have difficulties allowing somebody to really love them, because they know all their flaws, they know all the things that they lie about, they know all the people that they betrayed in the past, or themselves. And that's why it's so hard to accept this real, true, honest love, where somebody is like, you are a beautiful person, and you're like, I'm very happy you think that, but I don't believe that. And this is where we can have all this subconscious resistance towards people actually really loving us and caring about us. And that also, like, seeps through in the trust, because we don't trust ourselves, because we know that we sometimes lie and betray and things like that. Then of course you expect other people to do the same, and it's fine to expect that. You just need to be aware of the risks, and then also know that you should be willing to take a risk sometimes, especially in being vulnerable with someone. This is a huge risk, but it's precisely that risk that makes it so meaningful, because it would be 100% secure investment. Then the value of it would be so much less, like if you would confide in someone and show your vulnerabilities, and you would know for 100% that they would accept it wholeheartedly. Well, then it's not anymore about their free choice, because there is no free choice in that anymore. It's 100% certainty. So the magic happens where it's their choice. It's their free choice to confide in you, to trust you, to allow you to open up to them, right? So this is really important to keep in mind. So I felt like I wanted to share this small situational anecdote about trust, because it really made me think about it. Where is the border? Where do I trust? Where do I allow it to what is the point where I'm like, okay, now I made the decision that I will do it, and whatever the outcome will be, I am okay with that, and I hope it will turn out to be the right thing, the right decision, and if not, I can learn a lesson from that. And so you can apply this in so many situations, and just be careful, right? Don't let yourself be taken advantage of, and make a calculated risk analysis, if you will. I did that for myself. Okay, I will not die if this money will not be returned to me. And the risk benefit ratio is skewed towards the benefit, because if I can really help this person to get his life back on the rails, if I can help him taking care of his mother and his child, then wow, that's amazing. Like this is a great a great offer of help, and it makes a difference. It changed someone's life. So for me, the risk is worth it, right? And it's that you want to be aware of, especially in also in intimate relationships, is the risk of really feeling like a very close heart-to-heart connection. Is it worth it for you to show yourself, to open up? And of course you need time, and you need to feel secure, and the other person needs to prove that they are trustworthy. You don't have to open up yourself completely from the start. You have to, you also need to be aware that some people are unable to take that responsibility, or they are untrustworthy because they had so many difficult situations in their lives that makes them distrust the world. And so one of my ex-girlfriends, she is in Dominican Republic right now, and there is this attitude of you can't trust no one. So the whole society there is based on I can trust you and you can't trust me. So we need to establish really strong agreements with, I don't know, contracts and things like that, and you close your doors all the time, you guard all your possessions, and nobody trusts nobody. And it can work. Apparently it does, because the society there works, but it will never reach this level of abundance and prosperity, because everybody is in this scarcity mindset. Everybody is protecting their own resources, because they're afraid that if I would share, or if I would be open with them, everybody would just take it, because everybody is in the space of lack, right? And so trust really is the crucial key to a prosperous society, right? The more trust there is, the more prosperity there is, because people are sharing their stuff, that they're building their thing, they feel safe, they can build on each other, and everybody can count on each other. So you can make so much more, you can create so much more wealth and well-being if people trust. And in a society where there is distrust all the time, it works, but it has like very strong limits on the amount of wealth it can create, and the amount of prosperity and health it can establish, right? So this is a very interesting topic that I think is very important, and it's something to be aware of. And I wanted to share my personal thoughts on this, I guess, in this video. So I hope you can, I don't know, see how I think about these things. And if you have your own thoughts or your own experiences with this stuff, feel free to share it. I would love to have a conversation about these things. It's a topic that I find very, very interesting, and it's really, really, really important to be aware where to trust and how to trust, and to communicate that trust and to demand it from other people too. So that's what I wanted to share in this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for working on yourself and wanting to become a better person. I am trying to do exactly that. And I hope you enjoyed what I was talking about here. Feel free to drop a like, a comment, look around on my channel. Feel free to share it with somebody you love or you care about who might benefit from this material. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Talk soon. Bye.